WWDC 2025 date was just announced last week, and while there's going to be a ton of great updates to all your devices, we're going to focus arguably on the biggest software change Apple has made in quite some time. With the fall of Apple Intelligence and being the core talking point at last year's WWDC and the main point of this year's OS updates across the board, iPhone users are clamoring for a big update, and it looks like that'll be coming in iOS 19. But if you enjoy these Apple update videos, please hit the like button as it helps YouTube show this video to more people, and consider subscribing to always catch my newest videos and help the channel reach 1,000 subscribers. Thank you so much for your support. Let's get back into the video. Multiple sources are saying that iOS 19 will have more translucent buttons, menus, notifications, banners, and more throughout iOS 19. And now there's another clue that points towards the glass-like appearance. Bloomberg's Mark Gurman said the new design project is codenamed Solarium internally. And if you're like me and never heard that word before, a solarium is a room with glass walls that allows in plenty of sunlight. So this codename further hints that iOS 19 having a glass-like appearance with translucent interfaces and new design is expected to look similar to visionOS for the Apple Vision Pro. John Prosser has shared alleged renders of iOS 19's camera and messages app on his YouTube channel, Front Page Tech, and both apps have more translucent designs. The lock screen has a new style for notifications, which brings out the frosted glass look that is hovering over the background. The home screen also had this new look with apps and widgets, but still has the rounded corner square look in this render, which might not be the case. All the other smaller bits that help make up iOS 19 will have the same redesign as well. Here you can see the pop-up notification and the keyboard getting the all-new design elements. Taking a look at the Messages app, and you can see the buttons at the top have way more depth and look exactly like the buttons on visionOS. And finally, the redesigned Apple TV app, which needed a declutter, but now is getting a whole new refresh with the ability to easily find a show from the new tabs bar. Now, if you're still unsure if this design is going to happen and you don't want to get your hopes up, just take a look at the Sports and Invites app. The Sports app has the same design in its buttons, and the Invite app looks like nothing Apple has ever created with all of these new design elements. However, there is some debate over the extent of the design changes. According to Gurman, the images that are floating around are based on very old builds and vague descriptions and are lacking key features. Gurman said that we can expect more from Apple in June, which is great news if you're already a fan of these design renders. Gurman previously claimed that iOS 19 could have the biggest design changes since iOS 7 introduced a much flatter appearance in 2013. It is also not known if every app will get a redesign or just a handful at the beginning. Some of these changes were previously rumored to be part of iOS 18 when Israeli website The Verifier was first to report about the potential visionOS-like redesign. That obviously wasn't the case, but it makes sense that Apple has already planned iOS updates years in advance, and this update was never a part of iOS 18. Personally, I love the visionOS design, but it works in that setting. Having floating menus and screen placed around you in real-world render from the on-device cameras. I do like the renders that Prosser and others have come up with, but I don't think it will be a one-for-one with visionOS. For one, your iPhone screen has a stagnant background and not a render of the space around you. Transparent app icons could look good with certain backgrounds, but plain color or some of the current iOS backgrounds would not look good in my opinion. There's also the debate of circular or square icons. iOS has had the rounded square icon since its inception and has been a staple on iPads and Macs as well. So Apple needs to go one way or the other and not this half-baked option they gave developers for dark mode icons, because it's so frustrating having most icons be in dark mode and then a few that refuse to update and ruin the theme of your app screen. A mix and match of circular and square icons would be terrible, but let me know in the comments what your opinions are about rounded or square icons and the visionOS style. Previous rumors also included a much more advanced Siri integrating a large language model to help allowing personal assistant to better compete with AI-powered chatbots like ChatGPT. This has now been completely shut down and will not be happening for a year or more, most likely in 2026. There has been rumors that Apple using Apple Intelligence in other apps, such as making playlists within the Apple Music app, but it already does a pretty good job based on the music you listen to, so it's not a big deal in my opinion if this doesn't come out. I think Apple might add some of these smaller features to iOS 19 rollout and early point releases, and Bloomberg's Mark Gurman also is saying that a larger than usual number of features slated for release in iOS 19 have been postponed until spring of 2026. It's possible that the release version of iOS 19 will be lighter on major new features, with Apple rolling them out over a longer span of time, excluding the total redesign. Earlier this year, Gurman suggested that Apple is slowly moving away from timed software releases that come on an annual basis, instead focusing on debuting new functionality when it's ready. A more laid back schedule allows Apple to make sure its software is more polished and ready to go without having to rush to meet an annual timeline. Apple could continue on what it did with iOS 18 launch. New features like Apple Intelligence were announced at WWDC, but the capabilities have seen a staggered release throughout 2024 and 2025. In terms of compatibility, there's some really good news. iOS 19 is rumored to be able to run on all devices that support iOS 18, which include the following iPhones. Now, I'm not going to read all these off, but for anyone only listening, it's from iPhone 16 all the way back to the iPhone SE second generation. Some iOS 19 features, though, will be limited to newer devices, such as Apple Intelligence capabilities. And last but not least, launch date. Apple will preview iOS 19 at the Worldwide Developers Conference in June 9th through June 13th of this year. After WWDC, iOS 19 will be made available to developers for testing purposes, and then Apple will roll out a public beta later in the summer. Following the beta testing period, iOS 19 will launch in September of 2025 along the new iPhone 17 lineup. That's what we currently know for iOS 19 and what we can expect from a kickoff in June. Please let me know in the comments what your opinions are and if you think iOS 19 will be a good update. If you made it this far, I greatly appreciate you, and please like the video and subscribe to the channel so we can continue to reach more people. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.